How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Garage Built Baits. I'm your host, Wyatt, buyer, lure, all that jazz. Unique episode today. I say this in the podcast, I'm going to say it again in the intro. Unique episode because this dude that's joining today is one of the founders, him and his three cousins, founders of Lost 40 Lures. They're coming out with a sweet new big bait for all you big bait throwers out there. It's the Murder Frog and the Quattro jig hook system. We dive into it quite a bit in this episode, and it's a sweet episode, unique episode, because this ish ain't even out yet. I had to re-record this intro because I swore right away, and the platforms don't love that. But this ish ain't even out yet. It's crazy. Super, super sweet looking baits. And I would say in the space that we are in this niche community that we are in, it's pretty unique. It's something I feel like that is innovative, coming out soon. It's going to be dropping, it sounds like, beginning of April. But without further ado, we got Gabriel from Lost 40 Lures. I'm gonna be honest. I hit snooze a couple of times on my alarm
Yeah.
because it's 6 o'clock Mountain Time this morning.
Yeah, where are you out of?
South Dakota.
Oh, man, my mom and dad and my brother live in South Dakota.
Oh yeah, where they at?
Brandon, South Dakota,
Oh
like
okay.
right outside of Sioux Falls.
Mhm.
How
Yeah,
about you?
way over on the other side, like over in the Mount Rushmore, Black Hills area.
Okay, yeah, I've been out there a couple times. My wife and I went on a trip to like Yellowstone from North Carolina,
Mhm.
and we went through there, and that was it a is it spearhead spearfish?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, through that area. So familiar. Oh, that's a cool area, man.
No, yeah, it's pretty cool. I will tell you what, like the trout fishing gets a little overrated. Like once you keep like it gets played
Mm.
out once you keep doing it. So
Yeah.
um
Is it mainly trout fishing out there for you?
so it's mainly that's gonna be the main thing. That's what a lot of people are going after. I finally
Yeah.
caved and got a fly rod this year, and
Okay.
because otherwise I was just doing BFS, and
Yeah.
there are a couple of lakes around me that do have largemouth. A lot of these lakes have pike, and then
Okay.
um, I was looking at my area. I found like a reservoir over across the border in Wyoming, and they
Okay.
got smallies and they got tiger muskie. So we're gonna be hitting that up in the
Oh,
spring.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, dang. That's sweet, man.
Oh,
Yeah,
that.
I wondered how fishing out in western South Dakota is. I've never fished in South Dakota actually. I've been, born and raised Minnesota, and I left Minnesota in like the mid 90s when I joined the military. And so
Hmm.
I never actually lived in South Dakota. My parents moved when I was in the military.
Oh, I got you. Like
Mm.
South Dakota, like especially East River, the fishing is very similar to I would say Minnesota, where it's like smallies and walleye.
Okay. Okay. Heck yeah. Sweet.
No, it's
So but you're a trout fisherman now, and you went and snapped on a fly rod, huh?
yep. I had to get me one, and because I was at Fleet Farm and they had like Fleet Farm Fridays or whatever,
Yeah.
so I got a coupon, and I was like, well, you're asking me to buy something now that you're like trying to give me discounts.
Yeah. So got to do it. Got to do it.
Hmm.
Yeah. I got some buddies that I go to Western North Carolina, Nanahala, the reserve up there, and we do trout fishing up there. I'm not a fly fisherman.
Hmm.
I'm just open cast, 6 pound test, go out there. And these guys tinker around, but yeah, I mean, we catch brooks and browns and rainbows, and they've got natural and they've got stocked up there as well. So
Hmm.
definitely like it's a different change of pace to go to the mountains, 3.5 hours away and fish trout.
Yeah, but you can. So I throw some glides at trout, some more like some smaller finesse glides.
Hmm.
Wolf BFS, throw the like Aerobates Tiny Glide at them. They love
Yeah,
that. And
that little
then,
dude.
mm-hmm, then throw in a Gracely, finesse shad at them, the Commode, um,
Yeah.
your casting, the Tiny Nugget. They like go after that. Depths
No, that's cool.
115. They go after that really good. It's pretty sweet.
Cool. Nice, man. Well, I appreciate you finally, us being able to finally connect.
I know, dude. This was I. So this is like the second like episode coming back from my little hiatus, and
Okay.
um, no, I we it took some planning to get this together, and it took some mistakes on my end that I apologize for because
It's all good.
um,
We got it figured out.
we did. Um, and this is a unique episode for me because I've never had like somebody on where their product isn't already like out there for people to buy. Like you
Yeah.
guys are gonna come out with the Murder Frog and the Quattro jig system in a
Yep.
couple months. It seems like.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a April launch,
Mm-hmm.
so we are we are stocking up right now on the finalizing the jig manufacturing, the frogs, getting those dialed in and fully manufactured. But packaging's been dialed in, merch has been dialed in, shipments are starting to arrive. So I've got my cousins. I got Ken. So if you're ever on Instagram, Ken is the social media marketing. He's the guy. He
Mm-hmm.
handles all the marketing, social media, everything for Lost 40 Lures. His younger brother Zach, he's an EMT now, but he was previously, in basically like kind of like operations management for a couple different companies, and so he's helping out and doing like the operations kind of side of stuff. I'm more of the the inventor of the murder frog, and then doing like the financial kind of stuff, right? So somebody's got to keep the books, all the non-sexy parts of like doing fishing lures and stuff. Like, it's if you're gonna do it right with a company, like we had to have a team. And so it's the three of us. We were all born and raised in Minnesota, northern Minnesota, and so like we grew up on the lakes. Like Zach and Kenny had the lake in their like front yard. They were 20 feet from a lake called Little Turtle Lake in
Mm-hmm.
a town called Tall Moon, Minnesota. And so, and my family, my brother and my mom and my dad, we just lived up on the hill. So like we could look down and see their place, and we could walk down. And so, man, we spent so much time on that little lake fishing pike, bass, walleye, and yeah, it just kind of like made sense, 40 years later.
Yeah, like a full circle moment for you guys.
Yeah, yeah. We decided, we were, I think the origin really is, we were up in Canada, and we were trying to go every year now for like a week long trip. And it's really like really off the grid. Canoes, it's paddling only. There's no electronics. There's nothing. I mean, you're out there. And so we'll go 30 something miles back into the Quetico Provincial Park in Canada. And I mean, you might go 5, 6 days and you won't see another single person, right? You'll see more moose than you will people. And the fishing out there is just absolutely phenomenal. And I remember vividly, I think it was back in like 2023 when we were on the trip, and we were trying to fish this kind of area in the back of this one lake, and like full of reeds and stuff like that. And we knew there were like mega monster pike back there. And we were just thinking, like, man, if we could just get like a big bait that we could throw up in there and not get snagged up, and like, so we started thinking of this concept. And man, I came back to North Carolina, couldn't shake it. And so came up with this kind of idea, prototyped it out. And then once I had something that was like kind of working, brought the guys in, and it's like, hey man, I think we kind of got something here. What
Mm-hmm.
do you guys think about, like, tinkering around with this idea? And then, man, fast forward, a little over 2 years later, here we are, getting ready to launch this thing out.
Mm-hmm. And I think like your guys' reception of this has been super positive, and You guys have been doing like on the social media side of it, like all this like teasing of everything,
Oh yeah.
and you're showing like your guys' bait and jig hook system hanging out of the mouth of all these different species of fish. It's so
Hmm.
cool to see, and like you guys are definitely building hype up for this bait to come out. It's really been exciting to watch.
Yeah, Ken is, I mean, like I said, man, Ken leads our social media, all the marketing, like, and he's just got a knack for this. I mean, not only just the marketing side, but like the brand side too. Like, he just knows what the brand should look and feel like to like resonate with the right audience, right? Like, we're not this brand that's trying to get into Bass Pro and sell a pack of baits for $5, right? This is we're after guys that want to fish like big baits. They want to fish innovative baits, right? So we know we are definitely not for everybody. In fact, if you took the pie of fishermen, right, we're a very small section of that pie, right? And that's what we're after. We totally know that, and we're totally okay with it. So to the teasing point, right? It's been one of those things where from concept to like getting an actual like just working prototype, not a finished product, man, the iterations you have to go through with CAD files and testing different plastisols and all these things. This it's a ton of work. And then when we finally got to like after I would say probably like a year, we got to like a working prototype. We're like, let's get this out to some what we call like field testers. And so Ken had, raised a lot of awareness in the community. We got connected with some pretty like consistent guys. And we said, hey, you know what? Let's get the product out to you. Like let's go ahead and just do it. Let's get it out there, see what you guys think. And so we just let people fish it. And before we did that, we did file a patent on the system. So we're still patent pending status. We had our first review, had to redo some submissions. So I mean, fingers crossed. Probably within the next 3 to 6 months, we'll get the thumbs up on the patent, and we're pretty stoked about it.
Hmm. No, that I feel like that'll be huge for you guys, and that's not something. I feel like I feel like getting stuff patented in like the fishing like realm of things is hard to do
Yeah.
because like innovating something like there's a lot of big-eyed brush-tail glides out there. But
Yep.
as far as like murder frogs, this is kind of the and like the jig hook system that you guys
Yeah.
got going. Like you're not really seeing anything like this out there right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And we kind of knew that going into this, right? Like, I think to have a shot at like being successful and carving out your own niche, you got to come up with something like pretty unique.
Hmm.
And that was kind of the point here. Was like, let's come up with something kind of radical, unique, a system, not just like a design. I mean, I fished tons of frogs,
Hmm.
and they're all kind of the same. I mean, there's different designs, right? And I know some of the like the designs are patented, right? But like to get like a fully functional system that's got a what we call like a utility patent, so how it's being used, not just how it looks, that's a little bit more of a challenge to like find something innovative. And we dig the challenge, though. We said, you know what, let's do something different. We want to like do something challenging, um, build a different bait, but also like don't just be a bait company, be a brand. And that's really
Hmm.
where I think we've excelled too. Is like that kind of like really that eye for the details on the brand.
For sure. And then you see you see you guys like last year I think you guys went out to like the throwback shop when they had their tournament going
Yep.
on, and you hung out with the throwback guys, and they're Minnesota dudes as well, so
Hmm.
like you guys all seem to be like just really mesh well together.
Yeah, and a lot of that is from Ken. He's got the a decade plus of experience in design, and he knows a lot of these guys. He knows Kyle personally from Throwback, right? He's got a
Hmm.
really good connection to the community, and so that really helped too, right? It's interesting being in that space where You got these guys that are, fishing the big glide baits and stuff like that, and then other guys fishing, working class zero, things like that, and you kind of come into this community, and it's like it's been pretty receptive, which is really cool. Like folks supporting you, and everybody's excited to kind of see something new coming out. So it's been pretty welcoming, which has been awesome.
No, no, it definitely seems pretty cool because like your guys' first post is like I feel like it looks like it's like the canoe trip that you guys do,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
after that there's like branding stuff and it just keeps like building as you like scroll through, from the bottom to the top to the newest stuff.
Yeah,
So it's epic.
yeah. We're pretty jazzed, man.
So, and I'm assuming that's kind of how y'all's fishing experiences started. These guys growing up, like you guys, your cousins, like growing up next to each other, going to this lake. Were you guys just beating the bank, or did you have a little boat to go out on?
So yeah, so growing up, I mean, we had everything from small like Lund, Alumacraft kind of boats that our dads would take us out on, kayaks, canoes, but really, I mean, like what we kind of like ended up evolving around is to get into some of these like really hard to reach lakes in Minnesota. Like there's no boat ramps, right? You're putting canoes on your shoulders, you're putting your gear on, and you're huffing it down there, right? So we'll take a lot of like back roads and stuff like that, but we found getting into some of these lakes in Minnesota, I mean, there's hardly anybody on them because having to drive down a dirt road and then offload your stuff and then walk a quarter mile through mosquito infested woods, that weeds out about 98% of the people. And we were like, man, and we have found some really cool lakes where we're like, even just in the area within a 50-mile radius, we're like, anybody ever fish this lake? And we're like, no. We're like, want to go try? Sure. And so we drive out there, right? Unpack everything and kind of shoot an azimuth on the compass if there's no trail, and then you just huff it out there to these lakes and try it out. And we've actually ran into some pretty cool lakes in the last couple of years, just by doing that, by literally looking at the map and going, this one's only 30 minutes away or 45 minutes away. Let's go try it out. And so that's kind of been like the concept of, the get lost, find monsters kind of thing. Cause we have definitely gotten lost out in the woods, hit some cool lakes, and we have definitely found some monster fish in places where like nobody ever goes and fishes. So that is the whole idea of more of like this adventure kind of like style fishing of just getting out there and into the wilderness, camping out, and just going to parts unknown, man. So it's been super cool.
No, that's awesome. It's like, all right, monsters here, dropping a pin here, saving it.
Not 100%. Yeah, I mean, we found some really awesome lakes that have some really large bass, big pike. We ran upon some muskies, so it's just like I think even last year the guys tried a new lake. I wasn't up there, but they went out and they tried a new lake with my dad, and dude, it turned out to be like a huge dogfish lake.
Oh,
And we
shoot.
don't really get a ton of dogfish. I've caught one in my entire life in Minnesota, and
Mm-hmm.
they were up there like, man, we caught dogfish and some big ones. And so I'm going back up there in May, for, well, I guess there's no opener anymore, but going back up there in May, and I think we're going to do some largemouth bass, and then we're going to go back out to the dogfish lake and throw the murder frog for some big dogs.
That would be pretty cool. That's one fish that I've never caught. I've never caught, bowfin or like a dogfish. Even
Yeah,
though,
yeah, Bilton.
yeah, even though like when I lived in Florida for a while, it's like they're pretty abundant down there. And
No,
I don't know.
snakeheads. Yeah,
Yeah, well, snakeheads and bowfin.
and
It's
dolphin. Yeah.
yeah. Um. So no, it's a fish on the bucket list. Adrian from Scales and Tails, he really hypes him up. He's like favorite fish, best fish ever.
Yeah, yeah, Adrian. Yeah, he's super cool. He is really cool, dude. I definitely dig what he's got going on there too.
Heck, well, this is such like a very niche community, and then with swim baiters throwing big baits, it's getting more popular. But
Mm.
like, um, but then bait making within it is like even more niche. So like people are like really receptive of the podcast and seem to enjoy it. Plus, it's cool just to like meet the people like behind the baits.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, man. It's yeah, getting into bait making is not something I had like pictured for myself. But it was just something that kind of just fell into. And yeah, dude, I tell folks over the last probably 2 years, I've probably achieved a master's degree in like thermodynamics and engineering, just figuring out how to like get things to work. It is, and it was a lot more challenging than I think I had anticipated getting into this. I think some things like that always are, but like this was especially challenging, figuring out how to get into this, and the murder frog itself, to get the whole to a point where we were like, okay, that's the product. I think it took us about 9 iterations. And so that is like 9 iterations of CAD design adjustments. You're tweaking plastisol formulas. You're looking at different, metals and different ways to make, the jigs and stuff like that. So it's, I mean, a year and a half of development. Then you field test it. And, you got to be, you're asking for honest feedback, right? So you can tweak and refine, the lure. And so we got honest feedback. We made some tweaks and adjustments, and, I think we're landing in a good spot with that.
For sure. And so with the original design and maybe the first iterations, did you always have the idea to do the quattro jig with the four hooks?
No,
No.
no, man. The original design, and I've got a drawing downstairs that I'm actually going to laminate and
Mm-hmm.
put on the wall to remind myself of like how far like we've gone off the path of what was initially intended. I mean, the initial intention when we were thinking about this in Canada was we're going to make a giant tube bait,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to put a jig in it that's got a treble hook on it, and it's going to be a weedless treble hook tube bait, and that's what we tried to design. And I mean, we made multiple prototypes, and it just sucked. Like it was, the treble hook was always getting caught on the plastisol, and stuff didn't work, and it was. I just remember just being downstairs, being, damn, this thing is like, I don't know how to get this to work. Like I can't. And I remember having some frogs near me, and I had a couple frog hooks, and I was like, huh, I wonder if you could like maybe do something. And I kind of tweaked it, and because I already had a jig mold set up to like pour lead, because that was something that I had like custom made. Um, and I was like, well, let me put these like two big hooks in there and then cast it. And I made this big monster jig, and I was like, well, that's kind of cool. It's not what I wanted to originally intend out to do. And next thing you know, like within a couple iterations, this guy's born.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was actually like, made this, I mean, very rudimentary before. And I was like, okay, so I got this thing. What do I do with this? And that's when I started thinking about, man, if you made a really big frog bait, you might be able to somehow get this bad boy up in there. And then I remember showing it to the guys, and I can't remember who it was, but they were like, it'd be really cool is if you could actually make it so it floated. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, how would we do that, right? And so then we came up with a concept of like the first like floating jig. But that also required, if you were going to do that, you had to use the right type of plastisol,
Mm-hmm.
right, to adjust for the buoyancy. So we did that, and that's kind of what we went to the market with, like field testing is, something that like this, which is made of tin, so it's not as heavy as lead, but it'll get you down deep pretty quick. Really good for like fishing waterfalls, stuff like that. So in Canada, we fish a lot of rapids and falls. Fish a lot of these up in Canada because they can actually get down through the rapids um, a lot better than some of our other jigs. And then somebody had mentioned during field testing, a couple guys, something that kind of came up with maybe like 24 field testers out there. They're like, boy, if there was something that was in between, floating, which is the white jig here, and it used to look different. It kind of looked like a ball almost.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you had something between these two right here, That would be pretty awesome. So you could kind of like slow sink, be in the middle of the water column. And so that's when that bad boy was born.
Mm-hmm.
So now we've got three kind of setups, and this is where like the modularity of things come in. Is you can, top water, you know, in the water column, deep dive,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, those just kind of evolved, man, as we were out there testing and field testing with folks.
Well, and I think that's where you touched on this earlier, and this is how like lure innovation and new things come about. It's like, all right, we have a problem that we have. We want to throw like a big bait back in, some of this
Mm,
thick stuff while we're out here in Canada canoeing around. And then it's like, how can we solve this issue? And then other people are like, well, I want it to do this. Like, it'd be cool if we
mm,
could hit all the water, like every part of the water column.
yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
that was, I mean, very very fair. And when we first went to Canada with the original the top water jig, it was kind of shaped more like a ball. And what ended up happening is, we took up a lot of space on the side of this between the hook and the body. And what we noticed was, it was affecting the hookup rate. Like, I think you couldn't get what we call like the crush factor on the frog. You couldn't get enough crush on it
Mm-hmm.
where you got the hooks exposed enough. The other thing too is the plastisol mix, because we knew we were fishing like potentially really toothy fish like pike and muskie, snakehead and stuff like that. We used a pretty stiff plastisol, and what we found is that the combination of that stiffer plastisol, and the shape of that jig, what we thought was it was impacting hookup rate. And that's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
the feeling where people were catching fish, but it's like, man, I probably could have caught some more. And so refining the shape of the jig and then experimenting with some different plastisol formulas, and we ended up finally landing on, a mix of a couple different plastisols. So it's not a mix you can actually buy. We actually have to make it,
Mm-hmm.
um, to get the right amount of like crush factor on the frog, but at the same time, you want to maintain the durability of the legs, but you also need to have enough action on the legs. So those stiffer plastisols didn't really allow enough action on the legs, and so
Mm-hmm.
now, right, the legs are made of a different plastisol, super strong, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it can handle the toothies, but it also can flap really well in the water.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so this is kind of our mix now, is that we buy a couple different plastisols. We have a process to actually mix it all together. Make sure the plasticizers are all mixed in together, and then that's the one that we use for the frogs today
Mm-hmm.
across the. We don't have like a soft versus a stiff or anything like that. Like, it's one type of plastisol that we use.
Mm-hmm. This is the secret Lost 40 plastisol mix.
One of the little secret kind of like sauces, right? Of like, the how to get the frogs just right. We call it like, the Goldilocks conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Just getting it just right. The other thing too, we did develop a lubricant, right? An oil or a scent for the baits. Helps with packaging, helps with longevity of the baits, but also like we wanted something that could do that, but also have some like stank to it. And man, we tried some different ones, and it was like, man, this just isn't quite it. Like, a lot of them kind of like lose their potency over time. So yeah, so we've got a mix that I think we're calling it the stank sauce,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna get some of that made. I'm not going to say we're gonna have it on launch, but I think it's something we're thinking about. We want to see when people get these baits what they think about the stank sauce, right? The stank sauce,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that we could also spin up potentially, in the bait system.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Is it gonna come like already like pre-sauced up where you open the package
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, there it
Yep.
is.
100%. Yeah. Everything's going to come sauced up. And then I think one of the ideas is, do we kind of go to market maybe with, like a 2 or 3 ounce bottle of some stank sauce. One thing that, was kind of actually wasn't intended, but it just worked out this way of how the baits are made. There's an actual like reservoir, this little tiny hole right here
Mm-hmm.
on both sides, and that goes into the bait. And it's how the bait is poured. We ended up having those two holes in there, and what we found is that when you've got the jig, any of the jigs inside of the bait, and you use that hole, and you just basically squeeze a bunch of stank in there, it coats the whole jig, stays inside of it. So it's different than putting it on the outside. It
Mm-hmm.
stays inside. And so you get this really kind of cool effect where you throw this bait, that stank is up in here. It stays on the bait for a very extended period of time. So for guys that like to throw like scents, having this in there and applying it actually to the jig inside versus just the outside where it can kind of come off a little bit but easier, I think was a really cool kind of happy accident actually.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Um, what does rigging look like for the baits?
Yeah, so the rigging aspect of the baits, right? Just kind of there's four hook slots in it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you've got the entrance right here. And so the idea is you kind of see how kind of it's pretty hollowed out on the inside. It's a little
Mm-hmm.
tough to see, but it's hollowed out on the inside. And the rigging, there's a couple different ways that we've seen to do it. And I know Ken's posted some videos as well. But honestly, it's basically you got to take this body and you got to dial in the hooks here, right? We found that there's a couple ways of just getting the body in there and kind of like just lining it up.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got a hook on top, hook on bottom, right? And just making sure that the legs are centered up, and then you can kind of give it like a you can kind of give it like a little squeeze and just kind of push on the jig itself, and it'll just kind of like put itself in place. And
Mm-hmm.
then typically once you get the hooks in here, what we'll do is we'll just give it a squeeze. So that's how you kind of know, like once you slide it in there, just
Mm-hmm.
give it a squeeze, and that's how you kind of know, like we call it like loading up the bait.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean the initial like getting it loaded in there and then just giving it a little squeeze to make sure it's locked in. And then you're basically in. Like the way that we fish these is we typically, because we're fishing with like pike and muskie in the waters, we usually fish with a steel leader,
Mm-hmm.
uh, 6 to 12 inch steel leader, which will have a quick disconnect, right? So if you did want to like go from like a certain presentation, you can just undo it, pop it out. Let's say you wanted to go with your top water, just give her a little wiggle, line up the hook slots here, give her a little turn, line up the hook slots, and then you can just slide that bad boy into place.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're locked back in. So you've got the presentations can change pretty quick, which to us was really important because we all have had like some big baits, spent 25, 30, 40 bucks on a big bait, and the hook's in there, and you catch a pike or a muskie and they blast the tail off, and now I've got a $35 paperweight.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, man, well, I really like that lure. I mean, I remember being in Minnesota and I brought one up there, and it was, I mean, I want to say it was like 40 bucks. I got two casts on it.
Mm-hmm.
Two casts. And oh, look at that.
Oh,
I
that's
got two
nice.
casts. I got two casts, and it was done, man. It was completely shredded to the point where like the back half was just barely hanging on. And it was done. Like I couldn't take the hook out and redo it. So that was another thing we thought of, is we're like, man, if you could somehow make it so that way, if a bait got banged up, like you don't have to go and just get a whole new one. You could go buy, another bait or some baits or a pack and then swap them back out. And so that was another kind of piece of this that was important to us, is, man, being able to have that, that the ability to bang a bait up. Like, yeah, it can get beat up, but it's okay. It's not like a total loss. I can just basically get a refill for it. So that was another like kind of concept that we're like, okay, that's unique too to some of these baits, where you get a couple shots. I mean, you catch a big fish, it's great, but once it gets shredded, That's it.
Mm-hmm. I
So
think I think one cool just like if people are watching on the video format here, one cool like attention to detail thing is on the Quattro hook system. You guys have a swiveling, rotating
oh
eye
yeah.
right there.
Yeah, that barrel swivel. That's a
Mm-hmm.
120-pound swivel right there. And it's by design. And
Mm-hmm.
we kind of, when we did the field testing with this, it was kind of a mixed review. There were some folks that were like, "Oh, why is it swivel?" It's like, could we get it, balanced so it doesn't swivel? And you know, the other piece of this whole thing is like the weedless aspect. And the reason we use a barrel swivel is when you're really in the thick of stuff, right? And you're pulling a, a big bait through that, and you've got four hooks, having the ability for that bait to, if need be, bump off things in turn is important for the weedless aspect of it. So not only did the design to keep the hooks weedless, but the ability for it to navigate through the water and around structures is super important too. So that is why we do use a swivel head. It is not a fixed head. That is by design. And we did go back and forth on that a little bit, and just we definitely landed on it's definitely much more of a pro to have that ability to have it go through the water and be able to turn and swivel like that.
Mm-hmm. No, it definitely seems like it. Um, so when you guys drop, how is the like someone buys a bait? What is that gonna look like? Like how many murder frogs are they gonna get? Are they gonna get the
Yeah,
whole uh jig hook
yeah,
system with it? How's that look?
yeah. We got a setup. So we'll say from the murder frogs themselves, right? So we got our packaging dialed in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so the idea behind the packaging too is like, here's the bait, and it's a color matching thing. These three jigs work. So just thinking in the future, if one was to develop another bait and another jig, not saying that's going to happen, but if you were, maybe you would do something like a giant crayfish and a special jig that was red, right? So you can look on the pack and you can see this Lost 40 bait works with these Lost 40 jigs, right?
Uh-huh.
So makes it pretty easy compatible. We're doing 2 packs,
Okay.
individual 2 packs in the package here. The jigs are, and I actually do not have a jig package with us, but we do have the packaging done for the jigs.
Mm-hmm.
And they will have basically all the packaging looks the same, except the jig color will be different on the back, right? So the jigs will be sold like that. We do have I'm going to call it a kit. The reveal will be coming soon, but there will be a kit that will allow you to get a system, right? A one-stop kind of like shop thing to do, right? So that is something that will come out here, within the next, month or two, to kind of show what that kit system looks like. But jigs will be available individually. Frogs will come in packs of twos. We'll have the kit as well. When we release, we're going to be releasing with what we call our four like core colors. So the four core colors that we've got for Lost 40 for the murder frog, they're going to be the black. So this is like a jet black frog bait here. We've got a green pumpkin with black flake. We got a full on bright chartreuse. And then we've got what we call bone. It's a little tough to maybe see, but you can kind of see it. This bone. It's an off white that we developed with a couple color mixes, but then it's also got a nice mix of pearl powder in it.
Mm-hmm.
When this thing's in the sun, it pops. This is probably one of the coolest kind of like whites to have out there, right? So black bone is our white, green pumpkin and chartreuse, like some of the main core
Mm-hmm.
fundamental colors for bass fishing. So those are like the core four colors that we've got, and then we will start doing some drops of other colors. but we'll call like specialty colors. We're not calling them limited edition, right? They're like specialty colors. They take a little bit more formulation, a little bit more time to make, but just something kind of like different and fresh. So the first one we're dropping here is called Black Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of a formulation of some blacks plus pearl powder. It almost looks like a purple when you get it in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
But this thing going through the water on like a nice like sunny summer day is like, I mean, it's just candy coming through the water. So we tested a few different formulations and landed on this one for a black pearl. The another one that we're coming out with, and these will be out when we launch, is we call it the Bloody Melon Red.
Mm-hmm.
So watermelon red, but we wanted to make it kind of edgy and bloody and put some pop on it. So bloody melon red is another one of the specialty colors that we'll go ahead and we'll release. And then we definitely have a nice long lineup of additional colors that we're looking at, that we'll probably do drops of. Depending on the demand and stuff like that, we'll see, what those drop sizes look like, but it'll always be something kind of coming out there. I mean, a lot of different colors. We've got June bugs. We've got people requested purple. We're exploring, doing molds where you shoot, legs in a different color and then, put those in a different mold and shoot the bodies. So could get some multicolors. We're experimenting right now with some dual injectors.
Mm-hmm.
So what does it look like to dual inject and get, kind of a mix of colors? So the core, 4 colors, and then the specialty colors will release as well.
No, that's epic. Um, so you guys are definitely targeting, like you said, slice of the pie, the big bait
Mm-hmm.
fishermen, because just for the folks listening, so murder frog looks like big, big top to it, almost like big beefy square ish chunk style with like kind of buzzing toad legs and then 4 hooks in that son of a bitch. Like
Yep.
it's a big ol' honking bait. I think on the packaging it says 2.1 ounces for one of those bad boys and 5 inches.
Yeah. Yeah. This thing is 2.1 ounces for the bait alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you start adding the jigs to it, you're definitely pumping over 3 ounces. Like with the depth charge jig here, right? You're getting more closer to probably like the 4 ounce range, which we know requires a certain type of setup, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's we're totally aware of that, right? Like you're not going out and getting some little flimsy rod to throw this. Like you're gonna have to have a specific type of rod. But I mean, the guys that are throwing these bigger glides and swim baits, they got all the right gear for it.
Yeah, if you are a fan of throwing, you know, working class zero, anything
Mm-hmm.
like that, big soft baits, and you already have a setup for that with your, a stout rod, like that'll be perfect for that.
100%. Yeah. I mean, some of those beast hooks alone, like when you start getting up into the big out range, like those are hefty hooks, right? Plus you
Mm-hmm.
put on those baits. Yeah. I mean, you're getting into the 3, 4, ounce range easy. So that's kind of like, those are the rigs that we've got. Like, so when we go to like Canada, we go fishing. I probably got like one rod for like walleye and, smallies. And then the other rod set up for like heavier braid, a little bit stouter for when we get into like big pike and stuff like that. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's that's been my fish of kind of choice, is probably the pike, then the largemouth bass.
Mm-hmm.
So man, when I can go up to Canada and fish for 30 something plus inch pike that are 15, 20 plus pounds, that stuff's awesome,
Mm-hmm.
and this will do the trick.
Yeah, like right now I'm seeing people, um, like the local tackle shops will post pictures of what people are catching through the ice. And people are catching like, you know, 20, 30, 40
Mm,
inch pike in my area. And I'm like, it's like, how come I never see these like when I'm out there and I'm
yeah.
only catching like these little 15-inch pike on my 9-inch glide bait? Like, come
Yeah,
on
they're
now.
they're out there, man. They're the dinosaurs are few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do get one, like it's epic, man.
Yeah. No, I think my biggest pike is, I don't know, probably like a 30 or 35. It
Yeah,
was kind of cool because it was definitely like eating bluegill because like on its belly you could see bumps of like it's just gorging itself and its belly just expanding. It was pretty epic.
yeah. We've actually caught pike in Canada that were 6 7 pounds, and you could tell they were almost another pike's lunch because you could see all the scars or like the bite marks
Hmm.
on them. And it was like, okay, like I've got this 6 7 pound pike that was a snack for something else out there, right? So those waters hold 40 plus inches easy,
Hmm.
um, which is pretty something. It's awesome to see those, man. They look prehistoric almost.
Yeah, there's this pond around my area um that has like literal dinosaurs in it. Every once in a while you'll see somebody like catch one of these big pike, but they were up shallow one time and I threw a 68 HUD um farther out and I just drug it like right like literally like right like past them and I like just killed it and they swam up, they nosed it a
Mm,
little bit and like they just it was like right after ice out and it was still like pretty
yeah,
cold out and they were very lethargic. I was like, dude, just seeing these and having them interact with my bait like that was kind of cool.
yeah. We've had man, I will never forget. We were on a lake in Minnesota and had a muskie swim up. That I mean, it was just checking out the bait, and I mean, we all thought it's because we were in the canoe paddling, and pulling this bait through the water and look over, and it almost looked like a log started to float up off the bottom,
Mhm.
and it just came up out of nowhere, and we looked back and we're like, man, that is a muskie, and it was all of 40 plus inches, and it just followed the bait, and I did all I could to try to gain its attention, and it just went back down. Just wasn't interested, right? But it was really cool to just see it come up out of the depths, almost like a submarine, and then just sink back down. And just was like, man, that thing was just a monster. So
Mhm.
that's my fish of choice. I know Ken is a big smallmouth fisherman. Really loves smallies. Zach's like I think his favorite's probably like the largemouth bass. So we've all got our particulars. And my dad Johnny O, he's like 70. He'll be 73 this year. His is he's a walleye fisherman, man. So when
Mhm.
we go to Canada, we find those unique spots where it's like we've got walleye, we've got pike, we've got smallies. Not really a lot of largemouth bass up in like the areas we fish in Canada, but
Mhm.
we get a pretty good mix up there.
Yeah. Just just a Midwest guy through and through your dad. It's like we're fishing walleyes.
My dad he's fishing walleye. He's either like largemouth bass fishing
Mhm.
or he's walleye fishing. I mean the smallies are really nice up in Canada, so I mean we obviously fish those. But yeah, we know we got to put Johnny O on the walleyes when we go up to Canada. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like my man could sit and fish walleye sun up to sundown all day long. That's his game.
Mhm. Um my cousin, her husband, he's a big muskie guy up there in Minnesota. They are in like the Detroit Lakes area
Hmm.
and went fished with him one time and it's like, oh, you're kind of serious, aren't you? You're like a little more serious than what like and we were fishing for walleye, but I was like,
Yeah.
you're like a little more serious here on the boat than what I'm used to.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, fishing's still like a fun sport. We don't have to get too serious about it, right? But yeah, some guys take it big time.
Hmm. So like, what are the core snacks for you guys being up in Canada on these canoe trips? Like, you guys got like something crazy y'all are packing in?
Man, so I mean, we make like a lot of trail mixes that
Hmm.
you can bring up and just mix a bunch of stuff together. Beef jerky sticks, for sugar, like Twizzlers has been a big thing up there. Um, we brought tortillas, a lot of tortillas. And you make like peanut butter and jellies out of tortilla with like the squeezes and stuff. I
Hmm.
mean, obviously we bring some like some mixes for like fish and I mean every night dinner is basically fish.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one or two nights we might go, all right, let's break it up just a little bit, right? Because I've had like fish for dinner for like 3 nights in a row, so you break it up a little bit. But yeah, I mean we've tried some MREs and stuff like that, like military stuff. Yeah. I brought some up one year. It wasn't the biggest hit, so we diverted from that. But yeah, like protein bars is a big thing, granola bars, stuff like that. Another thing too, because you're out there paddling all day long, hydration packets.
Mm-hmm.
Combine that with a caffeine packet. You're getting stuff done, man.
You're zooming. So, I can
Yeah,
paddle so
yeah.
fast
I mean,
now.
you're gonna. I mean, day one when we go in this year, I think day one's paddle is 19 or 20 miles,
Mm-hmm.
and we got to do two portages over land too. So it's like, yeah, I mean, you got to go. The first paddle you do is across a lake that's 16 miles long, and you hope for like good weather and
Mm-hmm.
not a strong headwind, so you can get through that bad boy.
That's wild, dude. That's
Yeah,
getting after it.
that's it's big time getting after it, man. So you got us in our 30s and 40s, and then you got my dad who's like in his early 70s, just
Mm-hmm.
out there in news getting after it on these lakes.
That's epic. I've always wanted to um, go up to the Boundary Waters in
Yeah,
Minnesota
yep,
and hit those up and uh, canoe around and camp and check that out
yeah.
because I've always heard that's been like fantastic fishing.
The Quetico Provincial Park is literally that park, but in
Mm-hmm.
Canada. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like Boundary Waters is the U.S. side, Quetico Park is the other side. So we just go up into the basically the other side of the Boundary Waters in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and it's man, it's wild. I would say if you get a chance to go up there, it is literally wild, and it's some of the best fishing that I think you're gonna get.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's what I've heard. So it's definitely a bucket list trip. Um, so has what's like you guys have all these different species. You guys got walleye, peacock bass, snakeheads on this lure.
Yeah, I mean, like in the south, you'll get some peacock, um, dogfish, like I said, smallies, largemouth. That's kind of like Minnesota's pretty like a little bit. Like you get down south, you get more of like the more tropical fish and stuff like that. But like, um, sorry, yeah, I actually kind of cut you out there. My
No,
bad.
no, you're all good. Well, you guys got like all these different species on this bait and hook system. Um, I would say like between you guys and the field testers you have out there, like what's like the biggest fish that's been hooked on this system?
Matt, I think the biggest fish is we got this younger guy down in Florida, Colt Walker. Check him out. He caught like a 27-inch largemouth on this thing.
Jesus.
I mean, it was a definite double digit. And when you look at the video, we actually posted it on Instagram as well. When you look at the video and you see the size of the frog, like what this looks like, how big
Mhm.
this thing.
Mhm.
Look at it inside that bass's mouth. He dwarfs it.
Mhm.
That was probably one of the biggest fish I think so far. Michigan Bassman, he caught a pretty solid walleye on it actually
Mhm.
when we first field tested it, and then we got a guy up in Minnesota. He was the one that caught the first muskie on it. So we made some like bright orange ones, and he fished the bright orange ones. And yeah, crappy weather, crappy day, and just got a really nice solid muskie on it. So the pics look pretty cool. So, and we do have a couple guys down in Florida as well that got a peacock bass. I think like peacock bass and snakehead all in one day. So
Mhm.
like check the box on a couple of them all in one day. So yeah, we're kind of seeing. I'd like to see and get out to the coast here in North Carolina and see if I could get any type of bigger kind of a fish on it as well, like reds or something like that would
Mhm.
be kind of cool. So,
Mhm.
but
No, get like Oh, some of those coastal Florida guys get like a fucking tarpon or a snook or something
Dude,
on them. That'd be epic.
yeah. I mean, a snook definitely for sure, man.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see something like that be caught on one of these. I think it's just only a matter of time.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Um. Oh gosh, I had it. It was there and then it was gone. But, um. So you guys are from you guys' Instagram. It looks like these are launching. Is it going to be early April?
Yeah, we're targeting early April. Yep. That's the targeting right now. So, still a lot of work to do before that point. Not the fun stuff, but it's like coordinating with our packing facility and getting all the product in the pick bins and like all the stuff that is not fishing related.
Mm-hmm.
All that's got to get done, right? And so having those meetings, dialing that in, integrating websites, and all that stuff is happening. But we're feeling like we're in a really good pace. So I mean, we're saying yeah, April timeframe, early April. That's our go-to. Unless something completely wild happens, like that's definitely what we're shooting for. Like we want to give ourselves a launch day,
Mm-hmm.
roundabout.
And what's the standard 2 pack of frogs? What is that going to run somebody when they buy one?
Yeah, so I mean, we're taking the standard pack of like the core colors, right? So the four core colors we've got here, that's probably going to be in the 30s
Mm-hmm.
range. The specialties will probably run a little bit more than that. But I think keep it in line with kind of where the big bait market is. So I think
Mm-hmm.
we're feeling pretty good on pricing and kind of where we're at. But yeah, that we could probably expect that range.
Yeah, that seems on par with everything else, really.
Yeah.
Um,
So
so when you do catch a big toothy critter with these, have you guys experimented with like mending them up? Does Mend It work on your guys'
yeah,
frogs?
so being that it's plastisol, I mean it's heat thermals what's going to do it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, is it definitely possible to take the bodies or take the legs? And I mean, there's even I can't remember the exact name. There's there's a heat mending tool now made just literally for
Mm-hmm.
plastisol baits that
Mm-hmm.
that you can do. Um, Experimented with it a little bit when we were in Canada. Honestly, that what we found is that even fishing pike. I mean, I'll fish a lure, and because of like the durability and how we've made the legs, they'll get bit up and shredded a bit, but it doesn't really lose performance. It's only really like I would say loses performance if you completely lose a leg.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I've caught back to back big pike multiple times, same lure. It starts to get a little bit get a little bit shredded, but as long as you don't actually lose a leg. So like when we were in Canada, we brought probably a couple dozen of these things for us, and I mean we didn't mend anything. Like I mean, if a leg kind of like fell off after a bit and got broke off, we just packed it up in a trash bag and humped it back out with us, right? And we just threw a different one on. Um, so we've experimented with it. It works. It's just something like when we're in the moment of fishing, they last long enough. We're kind of like, yeah, we'll just throw another one on. But definitely, if people are interested in doing it, it is definitely possible to. I mean, I've even heated up just like a butter knife and slapped it together in between a cut and squeezed it together if you want to do something like that.
Oh, there you go. Um, I also haven't even like really talked about like what does this look like in the water as far as action and everything.
Yeah, that's a good question and call out. When we first did this with the thicker plastisols, um, it had action, but it could have been more fluid, right? Like it just, I mean, you'd have to really like jerk this sucker to get like some really solid action because the legs, didn't weren't as nearly as malleable as they are now. So it really depends on how you fish it. And I think that was another thing, like when it came out, because it's net new, there were questions around like, well, how do I fish this thing? It's like, you can fish it kind of differently, and you can fish it depending on like the presentation in the jig, right? So if you're fishing, let's say top water, right? This thing just basically will lay in the water and just kind of float there. The best that we've had, like from a fishing at top water, is reel, jerk, jerk. The body itself and the legs will just create like that popping kind of like splash on top of the water. It's not like you're not gonna have this on a top water, pull it, and the legs are magically gonna flap, right? It's almost just kind of like creates like a wake. So top water wise, throw it, let it sit, jerk it, big splashes, big splashes. When you fish the subsurface here, this is going to put you kind of down in the water column, and it's just kind of going to like float there. And so you almost fish it kind of like a glide or something like that. Like, you let it go down. You can burn it. I like to just like tweak it like this, tweak
Mm-hmm.
it, and that will really, when you do that, like bring it through the water, that causes the legs to
Mm-hmm.
kick, right? And then when you dive it deep, I usually just burn this back. Like, if I'm going deep down with this one, usually if you're fishing with the in the rapids though, which is really cool, you fish these in the rapids, and you just let that thing kind of suspend in the water, and that frog's just sitting in the river. I mean, it's just going ape, man. And so we've actually caught some pretty big pike up in Canada by fishing just on like the outside of the falls, and just throwing that in there and letting those legs just go crazy. So you really have a lot of control over basically like how you bring it through the water. But the idea is to get some really good like flap action on the legs. That is really where it's at. And then when you fish at top water, it's going to be those wakes that it's bringing through, just popping it on the top with the big splashes.
Mm-hmm. No, that's pretty epic. I feel like when I get my hands on one, it's like, especially, I feel like I'm just gonna want to fish it like top water all the time, because we got like some of the lakes around here, we have a lot of grass, so that's pike and bass territory right there.
Oh yeah, yeah, and we will say, like, we feel very confident on the weedless capabilities, right? So the way that the hooks are set up here, where they kind of notch in and the body contours, the fish actually kind of has like eyebrows to it. We'll just call them like little eyebrows here, and
Mm-hmm.
then with the big eyes, that provides you so much protection on the front of this bait. If you kind of look down the side, like, it protects those hook points
Mm-hmm.
really really well. So I mean, we've brought it through. When I took it down to Florida, it was throwing it in mangroves. The only time I had a little issue was like in oyster beds. If it would get stuck on the bottom in an oyster bed, it's pretty hard to get out of oyster beds. But honestly, like, coming through like weeds or cattails, or, man, it just blasts right through it.
Mm-hmm. No, that's pretty cool, especially for a big hunk of plastic like you're chucking.
Yeah, yeah, it's epic, man. So we're super stoked about it. And yeah, we'll keep on grinding it out, get things done. I know Cam will keep posting, and we'll also keep an eye out for the video on the kit coming out. So we'll post on that too, and yeah, we're excited to bring it to market, man.
Mm-hmm. So you guys come from you know like kind of like a pike, like bass fishing background. Did before you guys like started developing the frog and the hook system, were you guys throwing like bigger softies or glides or other swim baits like that beforehand?
Yeah, yeah, I was probably like some of the bigger, like older school, like glides and stuff like that. I mean, I threw this thing that I still have it too. It's like a 6.5 inch, like creek chub, right, with three treble hooks on it. I mean, that's one of my favorite things to fish. Before we invented the frog. So yeah, I mean, we'd fish bigger lures, bigger softies, right, like big soft baits. But again, the challenge there being like, once they get banged up, they're banged up.
Mm-hmm.
So and then walleye fishing, kind of a different game there. Also, a lot of like jerk baits. I do a lot of like flukes and stuff like that, or like some craws, some creature baits and stuff like that for like smallmouth and largemouth as well.
Mm-hmm. No, and then I feel like you alluded to this earlier, but you guys definitely maybe have some things in the works for even after the Murder Frog comes out and continuing to innovate and design new things.
Yep, yeah, and everything that we're thinking of is going to revolve around the idea of this jig system that can, come in and out of the body, right? So that can go a lot of different directions, right? You can change the jig style, the jig shape. You can change what, what is the creature here, right? Like there's so many directions you can go in. It's just a matter of, you know, again, design, testing it, kind of seeing what folks are wanting in the market and stuff like that. So we've got some ideas in the hopper. First and foremost, get the murder frog out there, get it in people's hands, get folks catching fish on it, and then we'll take that. We'll take that as it comes.
Mm-hmm. No, it's pretty epic. And so, you guys are cousins from Minnesota. How did the name Lost 40 Lures come about?
Yeah, so Lost 40 is a section in northern Minnesota. It dates back way to like the logging days, where basically, because of, to get nerd out a little bit, the magnetic poles on the map and stuff like that, there was a section of woods where it basically was missed in the logging maps. And so it just never got logged, it was untouched. And so it's actually a park now that you can go to, and I mean the trees there are gigantic. They're like the biggest in Minnesota, and probably in the Midwest area. It was just this untouched wilderness that just never got logged, right? And so that's that kind of embodies the spirit of like getting out into like the unknown, the untouched, um, and that kind of like adventure kind of spirit, right? Like big things live in these mysterious places, right? Like the big monsters are out there. So it also parlayed well because Ken has a design company that he also runs called Lost 40 Design. And I was like, man, you've already got this name you've established. You've got a great reputation in the community. Let's parlay. It all works out really well. So that's really how it kind of like came evolved. It just kind of came out from those kind of two things.
Mm-hmm. No, epic. Like, it's kind of getting me like hyped up. It's like I just want ice out already. It's like let's get out there. Let's go fucking fish, man.
Yeah, let's get out there and get some fish on, man, for sure, dude.
Um, so now you're not in Minnesota anymore. You're across the country. Like, what does the fishing look like for you in your area now?
North Carolina, so it's a different animal for me.
Mm-hmm.
Something I've had to kind of get used to is like there are no like the lakes around here. There are no big lily pads and reed beds and stuff like that. It's more of like underwater structure, right? Fishing docks and stuff like that. So we've got in the lakes around here. There's largemouth, there's striped bass, spotted bass, things like that. It's just a different type of fishing, and you really kind of got to like know the lake, and you got to know like the contours of the lake, like from a topography standpoint. Which I'm a kayak fisherman, so it's like I tried back bays and stuff like that, but it's just a different type of fishing here. That you've just kind of got to get used to the fact that it's a different animal, and you got to kind of know. I think the lake's a little bit better topography wise versus like I'm just going to go into that back bay and work that weed line for a half a mile. That doesn't exist here,
Mm-hmm.
like it does in Minnesota.
No, for sure. Um, I think, yeah, cause like here, like South Dakota lakes are like a little similar. I feel like to Minnesota lakes, especially like if you're on East River, South Dakota. It's like yeah, you can just like work a weed line or work back
Yep.
in like a different area, and you know like the grass hold the bass, and so
Yeah.
fish grass, and you get
Yep.
pike too, stuff like that. So, um, like here, like in this higher elevation up here in the Black Hills, it's a little bit different because I can also fish like cliffs and like
Okay.
really deep areas like that. So it's a little unique, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's like I've always it's like I would compare like fishing like big cliffs and bluffs to like fishing in Arizona where they have like the big giant cliffs in the
Yeah,
reservoir, stuff like that.
yeah. No, yeah, I've never actually fished out in that part of the country, so that's interesting.
No, it's unique out here with some of the different fisheries. Um, but dude, I'm telling you, like trout on glides is super hard, but like it's pretty
Yeah,
epic when you get a, you know, 20-inch rainbow
yeah,
trout on a, 4 or 5 inch glide bait.
yeah. I could see that being pretty cool.
No, it's epic. It's one of the things that like keeps me interested in the trout, but
Yeah,
um we'll kind of get things wrapped up here a little bit. I don't want to take too much of your time, but where if people aren't already, where can they find you on social media and plug the website as well for when you guys
yeah,
drop?
yeah. So I mean, Lost 40 Lures on Instagram. You can find us there. Website will be launched here shortly. I mean, it's the www.lost40lures.com. So 40. Um, that'll be launching here soon. But really, right now, mainly Instagram will be the spot to find and kind of keep up to speed with everything that we got going on. And we're pretty active on that space daily. So any kind of new developments, stuff like that. I know I personally post on Instagram too, just kind of like some development stuff for like the frogs and stuff like that. So you can check it out there as well. But yeah, that'll be the way to keep up with us. And um, you know, obviously doing podcasts stuff with guys like you, this is super helpful, right? Gets it out there, builds the brand. So really appreciate you connecting with us and doing this, man. It's been really
hmm
cool.
No, I was super excited about it because I was like you said in the beginning, it's like I've never actually like talked to anybody where they're coming out with something and they don't already have like a lineup like ready to
Yeah,
go. So this is pretty epic, and for me, it's like, well, this is just kind of building the excitement for myself as an angler to get my hands on these and start throwing them because topwater fishing, throwing a frog, like that shit, that's my jam right there. That
yeah,
shit's
yeah.
so
Love the
fun.
big blowups, man. Love the big blowups
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
No, epic, dude. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on here. It was awesome.